any amendments, or do I have a motion to accept the agenda? Yolanda moves it. Bill seconds it. All those in favor? Carried. Is there any declaration of pecuniary interest? None noted. Okay, so we got the minutes for the previous meeting on January the 23rd. Anybody want to move those minutes as presented? Kathy moves. Yolanda seconds. Any questions or clarifications or issues with those minutes? Okay, all those in favor of those minutes? Carried. Okay, we don't have any delegations or petitions, or, well, we have one, not an invited guest, but we do have a guest here, so I'd like to welcome him. Business arising from the minutes, from the last minutes. I did have Richard, it wasn't in your package, but I did have Richard provide the letter that was submitted to the Ministry of Attorney General from the Reeve, as well as board member Richard Taninga was there, as well as the CAO with regards to the Bill 175 Safer Ontario's Act. So obviously this is an act that has some significant concerns from a municipal policing force. And I think the chief has mentioned part of that in his discussion prior to today. He actually mentioned it was at the OCPC.
Ontario Association of Chiefs of Police.
So yeah, so that is going to be a consistent review of that to ensure on how that bill has been. I haven't heard if it actually has passed or not. That hasn't been noted to me, so I don't know whether it has passed or what reading it's at. But it sounds like it's moving forward. They're still taking. I think the public inquiry part is over. So, but I haven't heard anything from the ministry as it whether it's been passed or not. So,
from what Dwayne Sprague, who's our ministry rep, their advisor, he told us that it had gone through 2 readings and was currently off being reviewed and regulations being written. It will be brought back after that's complete for the 3rd reading and enactment.
Okay. So we'll see if the police or the municipal require the municipalities that suggest or AMO that sent messages into them, if that in all changes what some of the legislation or some of the regulations that they're presenting are going to be changed. So we'll have to keep an eye on that that bill as it keeps moving past the legislature. So is there any questions, I guess, with regards to, I know we'll leave this with the board members. And if there is questions that come up from the board, feel free to pass them on to myself or the chief, and we will try to get an answer or at least understand where we are at from a policing service with regards to Bill 175. We'll move on to the police chief's report. So his February department report. Chief, go ahead.
Okay. You have my written report already. Just quickly go over it. 108 calls for service. 6 of those were calls to assist the OPP, and 4 of them were dispatches out in their area. During the same period in 2017, we had 125 calls. And I've attached the statistics summary for January, as I do every meeting month. Still no word on the repair of the roof. They're waiting for the contractors. It was supposed to be patched so that we wouldn't be rained on over the winter, and then do a full repair in the summer or spring or summer. It looks like they're just going to wait until the spring when the contractor can actually come in and do it. Our Velvet Explorer is sustained more damage. We attended on the main street here to assist Huron County Ambulance. Someone was in medical distress and acting out. The paramedics and police officer that arrived decided to transport the individual to the hospital for treatment. And once he was in the cruiser, he started kicking, bent the door frame. And I said in this, it was currently being repaired. It's been done at Marx Brothers. The window that was broken, each window that was broken was over $600 for the glass. And final bill is about $1,400. So that poor vehicle was going to be brand new.
Second time.
Okay. Police station cleaning. The facility is advised that in order to save money for the township, they're getting rid of the contract for the police station with Weiler's cleaning service because the increase in minimum wage, the contract rate has gone up. So they're going to clean the police station with their employees. The only thing is it will look like more on our budget because we'll be paying their salary for the time that they're in there, but it won't be any more for the township. It'll save the township money because they don't have that extra money going out. So it's someone that's being paid already. It's just going to be adjustment on the budget. One thing I don't have in there, and I forgot to print up the amount, but Donna advised me that we were in a surplus. We were under budget for last year. Approximately 23,000. I can't remember the exact number. And she wanted to know if it was okay to put that in reserves for policing. And I told her yes. So we were under budget last year. I can get the exact amount and email it out to the, actually I can probably look it up here and let you know in a few minutes. And that is all I have.
Are there any questions with regards to the chief's report? The one question I have, Chief, with regards to the state police station cleaning, obviously the contractors have, they sign a confidentiality agreement and such.
Yes.
I'm assuming our town staff would have the same require. Is it going to be the same people doing it all the time, or is it going to be?
Yeah, they're people that it's the same people that have done it before.
Okay, so
we'll be coming back in. Yeah.
Okay.
And that number is $24,065.94 that we're under budget.
Well, I guess that's good news. It's definitely good news after the extensive repairs that we've had to do that were unbudgeted and over time with regards to some labor because of some illness and sick workers off. So I think that's a good, definitely a good sign. I think it's a testament to the rest of the police force picking up the slack and helping in those times of need. So I think on behalf of the board, I would like to send some appreciation back to the association for that, for their support on those times of those difficult times when we are short-staffed and that stuff. So thanks to, if you could pass that along, Chief, that would be greatly appreciated. So if there's nothing else on the police chief's report, I would ask for a motion to accept the police chief's report as presented. Yolanda moves that. Bill seconds it. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, we have the bills and accounts. So they were in your package. Is there any questions with regards to the bills and accounts? I'm not seeing any.
I'll make a motion to approve them.
Okay, Yolanda moves those. Kathy seconds them. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, move on to the correspondence. Is there anything in the correspondence that somebody would like to pull out or discuss, or I know there's a number of them. Um,
I do have three things of interest in correspondence for me.
Okay.
One is the OAPSB conference in May. Is there any board members going? And if so, I wouldn't mind going as well. And that would come out of our training budget, of course, for me.
Yeah.
But the second thing is there was an all chiefs memo with regard to the upcoming major case management inspection. And I have to forward all my procedures and the board policy to Dwayne Sprague. And I need if Richard has a digital copy of that policy, I would appreciate an email so I can get that on to Dwayne. And the third thing is the all chiefs memorandum that came out with regard to major case management and violent crime link analysis system report that's due tomorrow. That's been submitted for our service.
That major case management, that's the email that I received from the ministry that I forwarded on to you that had something to do with it. I just want to make sure that that is the same thing.
Yeah, and that's all I need to send off to Dwayne is the policy.
Because I didn't see that you were actually copied on the email. It came directly to me as the board chair. So I wasn't sure.
Yeah, there's no chief's memo on it.
Yeah, I didn't know if it came to you either. So that's why I thought, it was good that I got it, but I'm not probably going to submit all the other things other than the board policy. So,
but if I can get everything, I'll get it all off to Dwayne.
Okay. Has any board member thought about that spring? At this point, I have not. I have not thought about it. It might be something of interest for me, but at this point, I can't commit. At this point, I can't commit to the meeting next or the Zone 5 meeting either. So.
No, unfortunately, the way I'm at right now, personally, I'm not able to commit to either of them.
Okay.
I can't. It'd be interesting to go to the conference, but I think I've used up all my conference allowance. I'm not gonna ask for any more.
So yeah, I know Joan has usually went to the Zone 5, but based on the fact that she's been sick, I'm not sure she's probably going to be heading that way.
Well, for the Zone 5, I'll do the same thing I always do, send out an email, the time I'm departing.
Yep.
If you want to ride, get in.
Okay. So is there anything other than that in the all chiefs memos or anything like that in the correspondence that somebody would like to talk about?
I will be going to AMO,
Okay.
and I know that there's that submission for Bill 125. So I'm not gonna, I know Neil is going, and I don't know that we'll have a delegation again, but we'll definitely attend what we can to see what's going to happen with Bill 175.
Okay. Well, if there is nothing, I would take that motion to have the correspondence ordered, read, and filed. Yolanda moves that. Kathy seconds it. All those in favor? Carried. Okay, is there any new business? So the only new business that we have, and this actually was part of the discussion at the last meeting, it came actually from a public gallery question as to regards to media releases and how information is sent out from the service. So I will I will propose to the board, does the board believe that the association or us as the board need to have a policy in place about what constitutes an active media or representative of where those media releases need to go? Currently, right now, the chief has presented something that has been directed from the ministry. I believe that's where it came, or from
I was from the Chiefs Association.
Chiefs Association. That but the question I have to the board is that something that they're accepting of, or are they wanting to have some other written policy that indicates what is an acceptable media, what isn't, and what criteria would you have to meet in order to get those media releases directly? I will propose that to the board, and you can do with it with what you wish. We can have more discussion about it, or we can leave it as is and continue the process of doing what the chief is doing based on his been a recommendation from the Chiefs Association, and leave it at that. Are there any questions or comments from the board? I'm hearing none, so I'm guessing based on that, the status quo of what we're doing today is suffice to the board, and they believe that is suffice to the community. Is that what I'm hearing?
I think so. I think that's coming directly from the ministry. I don't think that we need to rewrite that, and I think we can adopt that as our own policy.
So the chiefs, what the chief is doing is based on a recommendation from the Ontario Chiefs Association. Is that correct, Chief?
That's right.
Oh,
It's not from the ministry.
That's
sorry,
from
I'm sorry.
That's from the lead instructor on the media relations course.
So again, it's coming from somebody that has some credentials on how to deal with this type of stuff. But the question arises: is that sufficient for us? And that's the question I'm asking. If it's not, if it is, okay. If it's not, then do we need to review and discuss a policy? I don't know. I'm asking.
I think it's sufficient, and I think we can adopt it as our own.
I'm maybe curious to know what policies other forces, if the other forces have policies, and what they are as compared to ours. But truthfully, status quo for me is fine. It works, and it works well, I believe. The information that needs to be communicated is communicated. I don't see the real necessary need to delve into this any further.
Okay. Okay. I'm going with the direction that status quo is okay, and at the meantime, I will, just to follow up with your question or comment, I will follow up with other police boards to see if they happen to have any policy in place with regards to media releases. If they don't, then if they do, great. If they don't, so be it.
Yeah, it might be an idea if or whoever goes to some of the Zone 5 meetings to maybe bring those questions up.
Well, I actually may send that to Joanne just to see if she can, maybe while at Zone 5, maybe she can ask that question and get me some feedback as to that. But that's about as much digging as I would want to do based on the conversation I've had with the board.
Yeah, I agree.
Okay. Board members' inquiries and reports. Okay, we will move on to the public gallery questions.
About as busy as it usually has been years ago. I had some questions, first of all.
Okay.
Wondering, is the collective agreement negotiations underway right now?
So the collective agreement negotiations were ceased until a decision with regards to the policing model for the municipality was determined.
Okay. But they had started already?
They were started. They were started in December.
Okay. And you say they've ceased, so they're halted?
They're
Like,
halted. They're halted until until the municipality has a decision.
I see. Okay. So who's the board committee then?
So the board committee is myself and Joan Vandermeer, who's the vice chair.
Okay. I was wondering why the information from the ongoing negotiations was made public last night and maybe previously. There's discussions that were from the previous negotiations that have been halted.
So part of the discussion at the negotiating was when we had the discussion about safety, that was their ask. Their ask was for 2 officers. And at the time, we said, well, that we haven't had that before. And we agree, but resources would dictate something else. We're in a discussion with the municipalities making a decision based on numbers and a budget that isn't going to be the same if you have this in it. So we collectively made the impression that it's probably in the best interest of both parties to disclose that information to the municipality so that they understand the information the entire information that they're going to have when they get aboard or get the negotiation done.
Okay, and that sounds like what you had said last night too, I think. Did the board approve the disclosure?
Yes.
Is it reflected in the minutes?
I can't answer that right off the top of my head. I know the board had discussion, but I'm not sure if there was an actual motion made.
Why was it done publicly instead of in camera with council?
The public needed to know the information that they're wanting. They're going to see that information anyways at some point. And the public, in my mind, and I will take this opinion. This is my opinion only. The public has seen all the other costs associated to the policing service. This is no different. All we said was they would have 2 additional staff. They could make the discussion about what that number would be based on what the salaries of an employee is. So we didn't find it to be, I didn't find it to be an issue of, and then neither did the association when we talked, that they didn't have a concern about that information being presented.
Did you consult a labor lawyer?
We did not.
Have you had, just as a comment, have you had experience in labor negotiations previously yourself?
I have had limited negotiation, yes.
Okay. See, I think I'm running into a real issue here. I have, as when I sat on this board and my job as well, so I've seen what can happen in labor negotiations. I'm really concerned about the situation that I think that this board is in as a result of what's been done. How do you feel you as a prime board negotiator can effectively still negotiate on behalf of this board based on sharing this information with the public? I guess maybe I'll just follow it up. I've done a letter up here that I wanted to present to the board. It raises my concerns officially, and I'll share that with you now so that it's all said and done. So what I'll do, I'll just quickly read this just for the camera, so to speak. So I've introduced myself. I'm here as a resident of Winghamville. I'm not here as a previous board member or any of that sort of thing. But I point that out, though, that I have had some experience dealing with what you're dealing with or have been dealing with recently. So I attended the public meeting last night, and I listened with some great concern, actually, when I heard the shared information, or that you shared information that you stated came from the ongoing collective agreement negotiations with the police association. In addition, I note that that there's a letter to the Reeve from the police association providing similar information, and that this letter is included in public correspondence related to police costing discussions. My biggest concern here is that good faith collective bargaining mandates that the parties involved in collective agreement negotiations must come to the table with a willingness to reach an agreement. It has long been understood that maintaining confidentiality during collective agreement negotiations helps to ensure good faith bargaining. These agreements often require candor, and when you go public, you invite political influence that can impede the ability of the negotiators to speak frankly, and it paves the way for grandstanding. This will lead to a slippery slope that threatens the collective agreement process and the ability to negotiate in good faith. It's imperative that we conclude negotiations with terms that are fair and reasonable to the members of the police association and to the taxpayers of Wingham. I'm suggesting tonight that to the members of this Wingham Police Service Board that the public sharing of that information during the collective agreement negotiations with the police association is contrary to your section 24.6 of the Code of Conduct in Bylaw 01/2018. Section 24.6 states that board members shall keep confidential any information disclosed or discussed at a meeting of the board or part meeting of the board that was closed to the public. Collective agreements negotiations are done in closed meetings, and the negotiating committee is part of this board. As well, section 24.10 states that board members shall uphold the letter and spirit of the Code of Conduct as set out in this regulation, and shall discharge their duties in a manner that inspire public confidence in the abilities and integrity of this board. I believe that both sections have been contravened, and I call on the board to follow through with section 25 of the bylaw. This is serious business, folks. When you do negotiations in public, you open yourself up to huge pressures from people on the street, from interested individuals, and I mean interested in agendas, and it can do a couple of things. One is it can cost us immensely, but also it makes it really difficult in the future to have open, good negotiations with the association in the future. The fear is that that things are going to be said that are being again, being manipulated because of some agenda somewhere, instead of sitting down and having good, frank conversations with each other. I'm not saying that the association has an agenda or that the board has an agenda. I guess you both have your own agenda, but when you have discussions, when information about the negotiations goes public, this information can be used against you. it's very easy now that most public, most citizens are going to be looking at this and saying, we've got to spend $450,000 or whatever the number was to add more staff to this. It's going to happen now, but we don't know that. We're negotiating, and that's a negotiation item that was possibly raised. So taking it public just made it de facto happen, like it's going to happen regardless of what reality will end up being. So I guess the reason I'm doing this is I'm really concerned that this negotiating process has been screwed royally, and that you're going to have a lot of work ahead of you to get out of this in the future. And not just with this negotiation this year, but the one in 3 years and the one in 6 years. Okay. So as I say in that letter, I believe you've contravened 2 of your code of conduct statements, and that when that happens, there is a breach of code of conduct that's also identified in your bylaws, and that you need to follow through with those. Thank you very much.
Okay, so we have, there is a complaint that has been presented by the member of the public. Fact that I am the chair of the Police Services Board and the chair of the lead negotiating committee, I will take that as it's a code of conduct issue and a contravention of the bylaws by myself. So I will. We don't have our vice chair here. Does somebody want to come up here and have take the chair and lead this discussion? Because it can't be me. Don't ever go looking at each other. Somebody has to do it. I can't do it.
I know, but I need to have a candid conversation here. How do you feel, Yolanda, taking? And then I would ask also the question to Kathy. How do you feel taking the chair position?
I can do it.
And Kathy, how would you feel?
That's fine. We probably should have a motion on that effect.
So for this particular part of the meeting, may get noted that board member Rick Smithenega will assume the chair to lead the discussion, and I will go somewhere to the board to make. I can sit here if the board wishes, or they can. It's up to them. It is a contravention according to them. So let's have the discussion and figure out what the process needs to be. So.
I might add also before. Actually, yes. Let's start with Yolanda.
So do we have a mover for that? Kathy moves it. Bill seconds it. All those in favor? Carried. Okay. Does the board wish for me to go or stay? I don't, either way.
I don't know the rules, the policies, the procedures for this, but I would be okay with you to sit and listen in. I have no issues with that. I don't know what the other.
I'm fine with it. Richard, can we get section 25 of the bylaw? Is that possible? Any comments, Kathy or Bill, on what Rob brought forward?
we just start in on what our thoughts are. So, and then another thing is, because we may be discussing the contract negotiations, I'm wondering whether or not this would be in camera.
I was wondering the same myself, if we shouldn't go in camera to discuss this, because it has to deal with personal information and negotiation things.
Yes, but I at the same time, I don't want there to be, I want it to be transparent.
Right.
So anything to discuss maybe at first? I don't have enough experience, not near enough experience in these matters. Would there be a discussion as far as stuff that would be laid out? So question I have was last night, I'm assuming this happened last night.
Mm-hmm.
And it was Trevor who brought up.
Okay, so before you go any further,
Okay.
I think if my memory serves me right, and I went back quickly just now through the minutes of the last Police Services Board meeting, and the information that was made public was discussed in closed session. However, from what I understand, it wasn't the board that made that information public. It was the association themselves when they wrote that letter. So in my opinion, the association were the ones that breached confidentiality, if that's how you want to look at that. So before we go into more details about who said what and where it all came out first, if you look back at our minutes and then the timing of the letter, when we received that letter for the February 5th report that Dwayne Evans, the CIO, gave to council, that letter was included from the association, and that letter came from them, and that was the first indication in a public setting that was something that they were looking at. Am I correct in that, Kathy? Is that your recollection of it, Tim?
So I think so.
So in that sense, I'm not sure that there was necessarily a breach of conduct or code of conduct violation by our board members, but I think if we're going to discuss that, we should go in camera to discuss that further without having any kind of.
I do believe that because the complaint is against our chair, that the OCPC, the Ontario Civilian Commission on Policing, needs to be informed, and they would dictate how it's to be investigated or dealt with.
Okay.
That's my suggestion.
Okay.
We can sit here and say that they brought it up first or whatever, but there is a written complaint about our board chair, and we can't investigate it as a board. It has to go to the OCPC. Similar to if there's a complaint against me, it goes to the OIPRD, not.
Right. So Richard just printed off that 25 breach code of conduct, and it just says if the board determines that a board member has breached the code of conduct set out in this regulation, the board shall record that determination in its minutes and may A, require the member to appear before the board and be reprimanded, B, request that the Ministry of the Solicitor General, conduct an investigation into the member's conduct, or C, request that the commission conduct an investigation into the member's conduct under section 25 of the Act. So what you're suggesting, Tim, would fall under one of these?
Because it is the board chair, yes.
Yeah.
The board chair is a little bit more than just a member, and the OCPC are the ones that do investigations into board chairs. So in order to be transparent and ensure that it's done correctly, I would recommend that, she's not here, but since you're sitting in, that you contact the OCPC and determine how we should proceed.
Sure. And
bring it up at the next meeting. I wouldn't go any further until you have firm direction from the authorities that do that for a living.
Okay. Kathy, Bill, how do you feel about that?
Yeah, it's nice to have some direction, and I would definitely motion for that.
Okay.
Yes.
So let's do that, and I will contact them, and until then, we will leave that until we hear back from them as to how we are to move forward in regard to this alleged breach of conduct. Do I have, like, I guess, all in favor? Or
Yeah,
are we
all in
voting?
favor.
Okay. Any other comments?
So they should be provided with the letter and a copy of our file.
Okay.
And any in-camera minutes that we had that discussed.
Are you making notes of this, Richard? Great. So I think that we don't have, that's that part of the business then taken care of. You wanna resume, Trevor? We have an in-camera session, is that correct?
Yep.
Okay.
Okay.
Okay, we will, the North Huron Police Services Board hereby proceeds into in-camera pursuant to section 35 at 7:45. Okay, moved by Yolanda, seconded by Kathy. All those in favor? Carried.